my name is Kalwant Singh Parmar, and my pen name is Nadeem Parmar, and I am a poet and a fiction writer. Write novels and short stories, and write in 2 or 3 different languages: English, Punjabi, and Urdu. Punjabi is my mother tongue. Urdu is my language of writing, and English, of course, is a. So I have about, say, 15 books to my credit, and all about. I'm a published author. And I wrote this Kamagata Maru for Khalsa Diwan Society. Took that project just to serve the community. That's all I do. Yeah. That's right. Okay, the love for my history started when I started going to college at Doaba College, Jalandhar. I was sitting in a small compartment. Students, we used to travel back and forth from Pagoda to Jalandhar every day in the morning, and then come back home in the evening. On the way back, I was just doing my chemistry. Being a science student, I was doing my, that day I did my titration, and I went wrong somewhere. I was trying to correct my numbers on there because I was losing marks on there. So I was doing that, and this old fellow sat beside me, and he asked me where I am from. Then I told him my last name. So he said, "You're Rajput." I said, "Yes." Then he said something, and I couldn't figure it out why he said it. It's sort of a terminology, which are derogatory terminology on there, and I couldn't follow him because I was quite ignorant about that. So I went home. My grandmother used to live in the village at that time. She never she never came to Pagoda. She only came very late. And I asked her, "Dadima, why this gentleman calls that particular word?" She said, "Oh, it means different." So she explained me what it meant. So that took me right in. Though I was a science student, but it created interest in the history. So after doing my Bachelor of Science, and I was waiting for it to go into Tata Research, but unfortunately I couldn't get the position in there. But they take only 50 peoples, and I was 52, so I had to wait for 1 year. During that period, I did my graduation in Urdu and political science. So then I got interested in the history. So I started tracing my last name. It took me back to the 11th century, and found out that who was why we moved from Rajasthan to central, which is CP, now Madhya Pradesh, and from Madhya Pradesh to Punjab, and then since then why we are here in Punjab. All the surrounding villages around you, Banga, Galachar, Balachar, Gadshankar, they were all small states established by my forefathers, and I have a book on it now. That particular incident and that derogatory word created my interest in the history. So I started piling it up, and I have written material by the researchers and all that, particularly by Todd and the other Abbots, and there are a few other English historians. Those have written about my family names. And
how many languages do you know?
How many languages? I have to count it. Okay, I start with my mother tongue, Punjabi. I graduated in Urdu. Persian has to be the part of that, and because I opened my book. Persian was not taught after 47. It was taught only in the university level, but then I can read and write and speak Persian. Then on my own, I learned Hindi and Sanskrit, and English is my probably 5th or 6th language. So it's okay. I can read Arabic, but I can't. I can pronounce it, but I'm out of touch.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
when I was in grade 5, we have to take one of the classical languages. Okay, Persian, Sanskrit, Arabic, and these were classed as the classical languages. Hindi and Punjabi. Punjabi was not taught at all. Hindi was taught only to the people, those who belong to a certain clan, like Pandits. They used to take the Hindi. And Sanskrit, Persian, and Arabic were the classical languages. You have to take one. Doesn't matter. You're Sikh, you're Muslim, or doesn't matter. You have to take one language. Yeah, and my personal experience, yeah, with the Kamagata Maru is that one of the passengers is from my village, and it's a like extended family. You know, the villages we have the same surname and the same family, and actually extended family. So his name was Hazara Singh, and when I came in 1947 from Pakistan side, we used to play in the street, and we used to have a sort of a ramp up there. That was his house. He wanted to build that house. It was just the foundation. He's filled it up like a square, and he used to sit there and watch us. And when he used to limp a bit, and one day I just asked why he's limping, and I just then I said, Babaji, why you walk like that? Then he told me the story of Kamagata Maru, and how he was shot. He had 3 bullets in his body. He was, as soon as he was 3 days, he was lying in the hedge for 3 days, and nobody picked him up. Finally, as they say, dead body, they wanted to pick him up, and he opened his eyes. They said, oh, he's still alive. They took him to hospital and was arrested because the Kamagata Maru, all passengers were classed as revolutionaries or Gadris. So that was at that time I was very young kid, 11 years old. I had no interest in this Kamagata Maru. I didn't even know what Kamagata Maru means. So when I started living in Phagwara with my parents, and then there was 2 persons. One was Munsha Singh Dukhiya. The other one was Kartar Singh, Gyani Kartar Singh, next village. Mr. Dukhiya used to live only half a block from my place, and he used to, in the Kali Singh Gurdwara, there's a Kali Singh Gurdwara there too in Phagwara. On the certain occasions he will come and recite revolutionary poetry. And then when I went to the college, Ramgarhia College, for my FSc, then he was editor of a magazine, and he was such a a revolutionary type of person. And somebody said something to him. He said, "Here, take your magazine. I don't care." He was assigned a sort of to promote a certain family or some certain clan or something like that. But he said, "No, I don't want to do. I will do the revolutionary work, and I will do for the community and for the independence of India." Then Mr. Gyani Kartar Singh, he was also a passenger. He was just getting older, probably might be my age now at that time. He used to come to my other uncles are doctors. They retired and started their own practices. So one of my elder uncle was a doctor. He used to come to him because that uncle was also in INA, which is Indian National Army. So he used to come to him for free medicine and free consultations. So then I met this guy Gyani Kartar Singh. When I took this project, Kamagata Maru, for the Khalsa Diwan Society, these 3 people actually motivated me to write about them and dig into it, work for the Kamagata Maru and work for the Khalsa Diwan Society. So that's the background on that, why I took that project. Okay, that was it. When he was released from the hospital, then he was not charged for this revolution, was not classed as revolutionary. So, there is a ceremony in Indian community that 30 days, if you don't find the husband, they will class the lady as a widow, and they will do all the ceremonies for widowhood. So, after 3 months, when Hazara Singh went to the village and he walked into the house, and they said, "Oh, it's a ghost. It's a ghost." I said, "Oh, no, because I am alive." So they took him home, and everybody was surprised to see. The story goes that even the villagers were scared that, "Oh, there must be a ghost." I said, "No, I'm alive." Then he started telling about how he was shot. And now the person, his grandson, after that ceremony, he gave birth to a lady, young girl. She died a couple of years ago here in New Westminster. She used to live in Burnby, and that's how she told it. That's where I got that picture from. His picture, and his grandson is as Dota. He lives here. They all live here. His that from offsprings of his daughter. They're here. But back at home, all his grandchildren, only one, no, he passed away too. They were younger than me anyway, but they don't know the lifespan over there. They are all passed away. That's true. In the archives, you don't get that stuff, what you are looking for. The only thing archives is the photographs taken by the people at that time, the photographers or the writers at that time. And what's that book written by that mysterious murders or something like that? I forgot his name now. He wrote his personal incident about Hopkinson because he was very close to him at that time. So all those are written from a different angle. My different approach was I just wanted to be neutral. My background being with as a poet or as a writer, I don't go particularly class myself in or associate myself to religious things or something like that, any religion or any clan or anything like that. I was looking from a different angle on this Kamagata Maru. When at the Kamagata Maru, when I did the research, wherever I contacted Tokyo University, where the name started actually, and I have given it to the Khalsa Diwan Society. I'll give it to you later on for all that. So this is so I was looking for that, but there is no reference to the. It's a ship. It's all that. It's the passengers. They were classed as revolutionaries and all this, Gadaris and all this. When they went back, they were shot and all this. Whom should we believe? Now, when they classed, Mr. Hugh Johnston is authority here, and the other day we were debating on what should we put on the monument in the Stanley Park. What word should we use to give a small story? He was using that word Gadari and terrorist or something like that type of words, which I said no. That they were not that. Where is the proof that they had the weapons? Where they were? Who gave them the weapon? Where? I said, you don't have any proof for that. It's 100-year-old story, and whoever says it, I can say, okay, my grandfather was there. I can say that, but what proof I have? I don't have any documents. It's a say story from one person to another. It's word of mouth. So these things were bothering me. Only families, those who have the link with the Kamagata Maru, their material been taken, borrowed by the previous historians or writers, and they never returned it back. And the good example is that Indrajit Kohli's material in the library. He collected all that material, but he never returned it. Now where it's lying is in your library. Okay, that's a very safe place. I appreciate that finally they gave it to a institution where they can reproduce or they can keep safekeeping and something. But what has gone through those families? And I'll tell you one particular story. I asked this lady, I said, can I have the picture of your father-in-law? I'm talking about Park Singh. So she said, no. She said, I don't have any. So what happened? So somebody came here and borrowed it, said, return it and never returned it. And all this, so the same with my family. People, I don't know. When I asked, my mother-in-law has passed away, my father-in-law has passed away, my wife's cousins, they never kept anything. And even my brother-in-laws did whatever they had, they gave it to whoever came, okay, they take it. So all those things are gone. And they are gone to the people, those who wrote about them or didn't write about them, but they collected them, but never returned it. This is the thing I was facing. This is you won't find these things in the archives. You look at, I was doing the research on Paldi. There is only a small paragraph about Paldi in the BC archives, and that's the land title. That's it. Under development, so and that's it. Yeah. That's all you will find about Paldi.
And Paldi has such a rich history with this.
And Paldi got 100-year history with it. In the Pali, there was not only Indo-Canadian families living, Chinese, Japanese, Italian, Portuguese, you name it, the Europeans and South Asians, they were all there. The main idea was whoever used to come there for work, they will provide him work whether at 5 cents an hour or 10 cents an hour. But later on, those people made a big fuss. Oh, yeah, these people are using the labor and all this. But in those, see, I'm walking here, walking on the street. I don't have any place to live or something. At least they had a shelter. At least they had a free food, and they had a job as well, though it was low paid. But you are working, you are living in a community where you can feel at home. That's what you can't find those things in there. And moreover, the other problem was in those days, people used to come single. Very few family was allowed. If you look into the archives and who was the first lady, her name called Shiva, those type of things. Only 5 ladies were allowed, or 10, then 10, then slowly and slowly families were allowed and something like that. Who worked for them? Who did the hard work for them? Khalsa Diwan Society and other Indo-Canadian welfare societies and all those, they were formed because of this, So this is a development on this one. So these things were really at that time. It was sort of a necessity at that time. It's amazing. You can't find those in archives. Yeah. Even in the police archives, nothing there. Wow. Only a couple of pictures. That's it. I was looking for the Bela Singh who shot Bhag Singh and others anyway. No, I called back one of my cousins and nephew. He's higher rank in police, and he went through his archives, and no Bela Singh record. The family has destroyed everything. They said we don't want to associate with that man. His grandsons, they said no, don't want to talk about my grandfather. He was a traitor or something, something like that. So those things you can't find. I run into these problems. I think most of the other people might have run into these problems. Those who did the research on this one, they might have run into these problems. Another problem is now the 4th generation living here now, the 5th generation, they have no interest in it. What they say is that, oh yeah, that's my grandfather or great grandfather. Nothing to do with me. They don't. They in a way they feel a little bit pride about their ancestors, but they don't have any records. You're digging something. It's kind of detective work, and you don't have to rely on one person. Let me go back to Hazara Singh. There are 5 people by the name Hazara Singh in my village, and I have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I start contacting one Hazara Singh, whose son lives here. I said, "Are your father?" I said, "He's the same age as me." I said, "Then no, my father never went out of the village, so gone." Next one, Hazara Singh. Yeah, he used to live in Hong Kong, and he moved to England. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Oh, whom should I contact? Oh, his eldest son passed away. Oh yeah, his daughter lives in England, Scotland, Glasgow. Oh, he got grandchildren. So I got their name and phoned them. I said, no, my father never went to. He never went. He was never a passenger on Kamagata. Grandfather was not a passenger on Kamagata Maru. I said, well, so okay, that's gone. Number 3, then another Hazara Singh, whose name is a big gate built in my village. As you enter to the village, there's a big gate, especially on the side where I live. My family used to have the house on. So I called them, and nobody answered that. So go on, and then I called my brother and sent it to him over there. Then that Hazara Singh. Oh yeah, he went to he went to Burma, and then from Burma he traveled somewhere. We don't know much anyway. So why you build the gate and what? Oh, yeah. He sent them when he said, okay, when I die, we'll do. So, okay, he never left Singapore, Burma from Singapore. He never went away from Singapore. Yeah. So then he had to eliminate. So then what should I do? It was Hazara thing. So suddenly it struck me, I call it Pua. I should call them as his son and find out. His Nana's name was Hazara Singh too. So I called him and said, "Oh yeah, oh mom used to tell us that yeah, he came on the boat, he came here and then he went back. He was only 18 or 19 years old at that time, and he was shot." And I said, "Oh, that is the person." So it's a detective story. So you have to be a detective
and persistence too. I mean, going through for 5 Hazara Singhs.
Yeah, 5 Hazara Singh out of 5, you have to find one.
Yeah.
And this is how it goes. Same as here, you know, there are Pag Singh. Okay, how many Pag Singhs? And how many there are? Munsha Singh. Okay. Now the Munsha Singh. The other day, when this book release was, you were there too. When Kashmi released the book at SFU. Sorry, I think Hugh Johnson mentioned about Munshi Singh. His grandson lives in Prince George, so I traced him too. I said, yes, my grandfather married, and they have changed the last name now. They went back to original their family name now, and we are trying to contact him, and he's on vacation in Hawaii, and I don't have a small period of 2.5 months to do all that story, and my time period was running out, so I just asked, well, how should I do it? So I have my cousin living there in Prince George. So I put him on his heels. So he traced him out, and I got all the story from him.
Wow.
This is how they do the detective work. And then when I came here, and in the library there is also a little mention of Munsha Singh got married to a white girl, and he changed the name, and how many there were 2 ceremonies performed. One the Sikh religious ceremony, the other one is the church ceremony. So how they change the names, and how the grandchildren's son and daughter, how they. So this is all detective work. Okay, the passenger list is also a mystery. You know, the reason for that one is that in those days the spellings were different. A good example is Munsha Singh. We will, if somebody has to write it now, he will write spell it out as Munsha. But you will find in the list Munchi. And it will be pronounced as Munshi. And there is no Munshi Singh is not a name. Also, the village names will be spelled differently. And the districts in those days, the districts were only few districts, not that many districts are presently now. If you ask somebody now, Firozpur district was a big district. Now Firozpur district is divided into 5 districts now. Probably 6 now. I have no idea. But I know 4 is over there. Same as the other districts are divided. Like your village, where Namashahar is a district now. Before it used to be part of Jalandhar. Now Jalandhar has been divided into 2 now or 3, something like that. Now Kapurthala is a district. And my village, and the story, if you look for the Hazara Singh, you won't find it under Kapurthala or Phagwada. You will find it under Jalandhar in the papers, in the list. There is a good example of that is that a Muslim from Folklore was a passenger. Folklore is very close to Maninder's village, and he probably took his passport from Jalandhar. Now it's in Folklore is in Jalandhar, but you won't find that particular person's credentials saying that on the list. So those type of things are in those days. Probably the passport offices or those people used to work at, whoever would spell it like my particular name. I give you example. My name should be spelled as Kulwant, Kalwant. Okay. Somewhere in the migration, when I migrated, it went to KAL. So I write KAL now. I don't. So these things are discrepancies of English pronunciation and the English way of writing, the Roman writing or something we call it. So there were the spellings of the villages and the passenger names. They were all confusing. Now, somebody who will, if some English who is reading my name, first name, will read it, he will pronounce as Kalwant. But those who know it's Kalwant. So these things are haunting now. 100 years after that, those will, if whoever, if you will find that, you will run into this problem. Mr. Arjun Singh's, he compiled a list. He was a secretary of Khalsa Diwan Society. He was a long-term secretary of the Khalsa Diwan Society. Whatever they used to do in the Khalsa Diwan Society, he used to go home and make a note of a personal diary. He also compiled the list of the Kamagata Maru passengers from the immigration list. So those names, because he knew the Punjabi names, he belonged to that district, Firozpur, because most of the passengers were from that part or the Lahore part, and he knew those. The names were he spelled them very properly, and so we should go. When I compiled the list, I had 1, 2, 3, 4 lists with me, and was comparing all the 4 lists. My God, it took me a month and go through. And the problem you will face is that when you come to the English list, so you have to there are few names like Munsha Singh is one, Hazara Singh is another one. Hazara Singhs are only 4 Hazara Singhs in there. So there is also Mani Singh, something like that, and there are a few other names which are, and very clearly you can see that probably there are 2 persons from the same name from the same village. They are also confusing. So how you will because there is a list there with the father's name, and also if you go by that, you will find other discrepancies in them. So it's mind-boggling. Anyway, Hugh Johnson have that list, and the list I did, whether I compared one at a time with that, and it took me a lot of efforts to do it. And so that almost I would say 90% up to there. Okay, he got lots of artifacts. This gentleman, I think we should respect him very well. We should give him a position in the. He was quite illiterate person, but he learned. He used to can write, but he learned English here while he was there. He started collecting all the documents, like all the newspapers. At that time, they are so fragile. If you touch them, they are breaking. You can only open it and look at it. If you try to photocopy it or something, no, it's very fragile. Better do in the library. I mean, the Vancouver Library have the same, and Burnaby Library, I went through it. They have the old documents like those newspapers or something like that. But he collected on his own. He put them in binders, and those binders, how many years old those are? And that's what he did. He documented every single, like Sun, Province, Courier. What's the other name of that paper? Right, Hindustani. There's only 3 issues of that, and he got all 3, or I don't remember now. I think he got 1 or 2 or 3. I think it's 1 probably, and all those things. When they started this Ghadar movement, actually it wasn't a Ghadar movement. It was just sort of a society they formed that called the Indian Welfare Society. So they were classed as Ghadris and all this. That's a different story. We don't want to go into that. So that's where he collected all that stuff. This goes. It's a very folklore anyway. नाले तार कड्डां नाले रोवां माही मेरा चीन चलिया ना जाई बर्मा नू तेरे लेख जाणगे नाले ना जाई. The ladies used to spin the charkha, and they used to sing these things. That's why I followed these things.
And what does that song mean? Give us a bit of a translation of that song.
Which one?
The song you just sang.
Those two? I think, did you record it? Okay, the Nanja Imbar, Mahi Mera Cheen Chalya. Nale Tar Kada Nale. She was milking a cow or a buffalo, and then she's also crying because the reason she's given that her husband is leaving in the morning to China. As a soldier, as a laborer, we don't know. This is just the general formation. Na jain Burma nu tere lekh jaan. Don't go to Burma, but your luck will go with you. It doesn't matter. You stay here. You know, this is just sort of it's called in a particular area. These are called boliyan in Punjabi, but if you go into the UP, it's called a gajri. Kajri. Kajra is the black. It's a black sentiments of the heart in it. That's what they call kajri. There's a different aspect. Those are the things which are associated, particularly folklore. I would say that if that incident hadn't taken place at that time, we wouldn't have been here. That's my personal. Because the reason for that one is my in-laws family. None of them were in the army. They came here just to venture, because back at home they didn't have that much income to support a big family. And there's a particular name for my family is Baniya. You know what they used to do? They will grow their own crops, and they will start buying from the other people or from the neighboring villages and hoard it. When the prices go up, they will sell it. That's how they used to make the money. They are called Baniyans. So this is how they were type of business people. So though they were agriculturists, farmers, but that was their particular. Had this incident hadn't happened, those people would not have been here. They would not have been allowed to buy land or buy this thing and open new businesses or something. That incident particularly created all these opportunities for people, because slowly they start struggling with it. We are British subject. Why don't we have those rights? Why don't that struggle actually in a way was, I think it was born out of that incident. And if that incident hadn't happened, it would have been a different story altogether. That's why I connect the Kamagata Maru with our struggle here, our flourishment, how we flourished in this country, and we had a foot to put here. That incident made it all. When they put that plaque, where it was on the Broad Inlet, they moved it so many times. They particularly, I remember when my father came here in 1987, it took me 3 hours to find that plaque, and I was disappointed at that time. Now I think when I was doing this one, now I feel it, that it should be at the site over there where this incident took place, not on the Hastings Street or not on the Paul Street or somewhere. The city thinks, oh, it doesn't look nice here, just take it over, just hold it. And I have seen that when I used to work downtown, I used to go by that, and I've seen that I don't want to use that phrase now. I don't want to give that incident, particularly is coming to my mind. They didn't have any respect for that plaque. Nobody knows what this plaque is for, only for us, just to satisfy the Indo-Canadian community. I think that was it. But it should be at that point where that you can see that where the ship was. When this monument is, Khalsa Diwan Society was fighting for this monument where it should be. So no, it should be, it will blocking this and blocking that. And the Khalsa Diwan Society said no, it should be here, because this is the place. That's where the Kamagata Maru was anchored. So it should be like that. So that's what it was, a big fight anyway. So to me, that monument, at the present, I haven't seen it. I've seen the pictures of the drafting and everything, how it's going to go and how it will be. But it will be right place over there. That's at least it's in the Coal Harbor area, and looking towards where the ship was anchored and all this. Okay, first I didn't get any book published till 1994. Those are the poetry books. I write ghazal particularly. My first genre, my passion is for ghazal, and I write poetry in two different languages, or 3 different languages: English, Punjabi, and Urdu. My main language of writing is Urdu. Now it's Punjabi now. I write ghazal in Urdu. That was my first book. It's under name of Nadeem, from which Jagjit Singh has sung my ghazal. And the album is called Love is Blind. It's the opening ghazal of that. And probably if you go on the YouTube, you will just say Love is Blind, that will comes out. Then my second book also is a poetry book. Then my third book is also Punjabi poetry book. It's to my granddaughter, Kal Nimarta, whom you interviewed. It's on her. She was only about not even 2 years old. She used to sit beside me and draw things, and then I started writing about her and things, because at that time I had a heart problem at that time. And then after that, a small booklet. It became very famous in the Punjabi literary circles. And then another book came with the Punjabi ghazals. Then another book of. Then I started writing fiction, short stories. There are a few short stories on granddaughters and all that. And I never got any short story published yet. There are about 30, 40 short stories written. About one day after I go through them and pick few. Then I start writing this about Paldi. That's what I do nowadays. As a Punjabi writer, I don't live on my, I don't have any kind of income out of this, but it's just a passion of writing. To be honest with you, I wanted to be, when I was a very kid, Tagore was my actually, Tagore and Ghalib was my two poets, and that was my fantasy about writing. But I started writing very young, at the age of 12. I was 12 years old when I wrote first poem on the Mahatma when he was shot, and I hardly remember any line out of it. That was it, and I started. Then came to the college. I became the editor of the Urdu section. Then at the university level, I was also the editor of the Urdu section. That's where I got my name, Nadeem, pen name. I started writing under the pen name just to camouflage myself from my parents. And my mother was very strict. She wanted me to go into the army. I didn't want to go. I had a heart attack, big heart attack in 1990, after the wedding of just after the wedding of my son. That gave me the chance to do. At that time I said, I don't want to go to work. I'm not working at all. Doesn't matter I get a food or not. I decided at that time I want to be a writer. I want to start writing. So that was it. And with my wife, she's very great to me. She taught me Punjabi, how to write, and that's how I started writing Punjabi. And she's great. And I think you have not one or two females in your life, but at least 3: your mother, your grandmother, Nani and Dadi, and your wife. Those are the 3. I mean, now your daughters or granddaughters, they come. Those without a lady in your family or in your career or in your profession, you're not successful. That's my bottom line. I appreciate those. Nani, Dadi, Ma, Sare, they all made you.
Yeah.
They make you what you want to, but it depends what you want. The Khalsa Diwan Society project is actually, I had a very short time frame, and they particularly was concentrated on the Kamagata Maru incident. But what I did is, what I wrote for them was a short history of Khalsa Diwan Society from 1907 up to 2011, different committees, how they were formed, and the constitution, what is the first constitution and the last constitution. I didn't put all that together. The first that there's a letter, only a letter, that the 7 items on it is the constitution. I put that one, but after that the constitution becomes that big, so I didn't want to put it in my writing. It will take a lot of time. So then how they changed from time to time, year after year, new changes coming in, I wrote that. And then I took the social side of Khalsa Diwan Society, and then I also took the political side of the Khalsa Diwan Society. In the social and the religious also, three aspects of Khalsa Diwan Society. Actually, Khalsa Diwan Society was there for the all South Asians. When I say South Asian, I'm talking about the old India before partition. In those, there was the even Sri Lanka was also included in India. And but if you look at the map of Gadri movement, it used to say the United States of India. It used to be in Paldi, but when that cookhouse was burnt, it burnt with it. I offered them $100 in those days. Here is $100. Give me that map. But nobody gave me that. But it burnt now with that one. I still feel very sad for that. And that was it, United States of India. And so I took all those three aspects. On the religious side, I gave them from what Khalsa Diwan Society started, and on the religious side, what they did, how they cooperated with the other cities to open gurdwaras, where and why, as the population increased, how they separated from them. In a brief, it's not big writing. And then on the political side, right from 1907 up to the achievement of franchise. And because after that, once this was achieved, there was no need for this aspect of Indian welfare. And I took a brief history of the Indian welfares, who went to England, who went to Ottawa, those delegates and all that. And this is on the political side also. But after that, because Khalsa Diwan Society is not involved after that. That was last, I think, is when the 50s or late 60s, the time of Diefenbaker. And it stopped at when Trudeau gave the amnesty and abolished the other quota system, and that's it. After that, I stopped it. So at the end, I gave them because at that time the project was entirely a different thing altogether than what's happening now. I was given the assignment that I should interview some pioneer families. So I did about 10 pioneer families. As I said, the Munshar Singh's grandson. I went to Kelowna, I went to Kamloops, I spent a whole week on Vancouver Island, on the Lower Mainland, trying to find the person over there, running around here, going around there. At my age, I was so tired. And so I gave the list of the pioneers. Then I was asked to compile the list of these passengers. That took all my energy.